Hello YouTubers, in this video I will present you the Corsair RM1000X power supply, unboxing, main features and the reasons how I ended up with 1000 watt need instead of 750 for instance. Okay, so let's unbox it. This is the power cord, nothing special, a European type plug. The motherboard cable. Sata power cable. This connector goes to the power supply, and this is a regular SATA power connector. There are 1, 2, 3 such connectors in one cable. And here we got, oh my goodness, 4-pin Molex cable. They were used for CD, DVD drives or hard drives. This goes to the power supply, to the main unit, and those are the regular Molex connectors, 4-pin Molex connectors. As you can see, there are 4 such connectors and 1 cable. And here we got the PCI Express cable. So the power supply is connected to this 8-pin connector. I hope you'll focus. Yes. And these are going to the video cards, can be used either 6 or 8-pin connector. And this is the CPU power cable. Here it is. So as you can see, one connector goes to the motherboard, to the CPU connectors, and the other one goes to the, this one goes to the main unit. And the CPU part can be splitted like that, because in some cases you might need 6 or 8-pin connection. So this is how you can configure it. Here we got some more cables, zip ties, even some safety information. And here it is, the main unit. What is this label about? Silent operation at low to moderate loads. Okay. So these are the connectors of the main unit. I believe it is pretty obvious which connector goes to where. All kind of certifications. And here we got the fan. It's a nice piece. Let's take a closer look. There's the power cord connector, the mains switch. And here we got the magnetic levitation fan. This should be a pretty silent fan when it is working. So that's all what you get in the box: the cable, zip ties, screws and documents. And here is a summary of the cables. How many pieces you got, each of them. And now let's move on to the main features. 10 years guarantee. That's a lot. There are no many brands who will provide you 10 years guarantee. And make sure you're buying the product from a dealer who will provide you a written certificate of guarantee with 10 years. This power supply comes with a 140mm magnetic levitation fan. That means longer lifetime and lower noise when it is operating. As you can see on this graph, the fan will start to operate at 400 watts power output when it's going to produce only 5 decibel noise. At 600 watts it's going to produce 13 decibels, at 800 watts less than 30 decibels, and at maximum capacity of 1000 watts it's going to produce around 37 decibels. That's quite impressive, isn't it? Efficiency. According to this graph, having a power input of 230 volts will result higher efficiency of the power supply compared to a 115 volts input like in the US. That means that if you got 230 volts power input like in Europe, the unit will stay above 90% efficiency in the range of 120 to 1000 watt power output. While if you got a 115 volts power input like in the US, the unit will stay above 90% efficiency in the range of 150 and 750 watts. This is the input-output rating chart. As you can see on the plus 12 volt rail, the unit can provide 1000 watts. That's very impressive. The most of the values are pretty typical for a 1000 watt power supply. The unit comes with industrial grade Japanese electrolytic capacitors. That's very important because a very common, if not the most common failure mode of the power supply are related to the electrolytic capacitors failure. The next feature is the modern standby. So what the heck is modern standby and how does it differ from S3 standby? Give me 3 minutes and I will explain you in a nutshell. Microsoft introduced modern standby in 2012 to improve battery life and the transition between power states, allowing Windows PCs to transition between on-off states faster, like your smartphone does. There are some technical differences. In S3, for instance, almost the whole system is powered down, including the CPU, except the RAM, where your data are retained. Modern standby is a bit different because even in standby mode, the system might have some activity. Look at here. This is a PC and this is the S3 standby mode. Practically the system is powered down almost completely. This is a mobile device. And look at here. Think about when you wake up your phone, it is instantly ready to go, isn't it? Your system, your emails, messages, notifications are up to date because even with your phone asleep, it is still connected and updating itself, all without a big hit to the battery life. So all that happens here. So we can say that modern standby is Microsoft's effort to bring similar instant and readiness to Windows systems. Modern standby by today has got two variations. There is a connected standby and there is a disconnected standby. It's available for Windows 10 desktop system, but there is a catch. Switching from S3 to modern standby cannot be done by changing a setting in BIOS. You have to reinstall the whole operating system, and your hardware has to support it as well. The bottom line is that the power source I presented in this video, the Corsair RM1000X, is a modern standby compatible device. You might say that 1000 watts it's an overkill. Let's check it. For the CPU I took into account 225 watts. The next one is the GPU with 300 watts. Then comes the motherboard with the RAM 80 watts. SSD 5 watts. Hard drives 8 watts. DVD 8 watts. CPU cooler 5 watts. System fans 6 watts. LEDs, I got plenty of LEDs, 5 watts. USB, considering that I'm gonna charge my phone or other devices, 15 watts. Let's add it up. It makes 657 watts. Now, considering 135 watts reserved for CPU upgrade, 180 watts for a GPU upgrade, I will need altogether 315 watts reserve for future upgrading. Altogether that makes 972 watts, approximately 1000 watts. So this is how I ended up with a 1000 watt power supply. Please let me know your opinion. That concludes this video. The force might be with you.